Okay, welcome back. This is going to be the third installment of the series on how I read tarot. First we covered the fact that what I call my, I hate to call it a system, it's nothing formal, but I guess we can say it's a holistic tarot. Secondly, what we did was it breaks down into various sections, and we covered the primary elements, which is just the basic cards. Secondly, psychic tarot, and I explained that in the last video. This installment is about intuitive tarot. Now, one of the things that I really like about psychic who calls themselves an intuitive, I mean, there are various words. Some people call them sensitives, which, you know, considering some of the female psychics I've dealt with, yeah, sensitive is probably too good a word. But the word I like best is intuitives, because as I say, you can break down what is psychic and what is supernatural. And then there's what is intuition. And intuition does not necessarily mean, I mean, it can be psychically based, it can be supernaturally based, but intuition can also just be based on the obvious. So if somebody asks a question, the manner in which they ask the question, you can use your intuition to basically get their position. I mean, that's off the top, and I have not prepared for any of these. This is just all off the top of my head. But you know, if somebody were to ask, you know, what's in my love life presently, versus say, you know, am I ever going to find a boyfriend? Well, those, you know, the way the question is framed obviously is telling you something about where the person is at. Now, some people might say that this is trickery. You know, they expect that a tarot reader is, I don't know, they have some medium connection or something, and I'm always suspicious of anyone who calls themselves a medium. But some people think that it has to all be supernatural, and if it's not, you're cheating them. But to me, the term intuitive means you are just basically drinking the person in, getting an awareness of them, and using that as part of the read. That is fine, and I don't lie to people about it. I know, I tell, you know, if I see, you must work hard because I can tell by the calluses on your hands. You know, I'm not going to try and get, you know, I'm not going to play a game and say I can tell you're a hard worker. Well, how did you know that? Well, because I'm psychic. No, I mean, if I pick up something that is just from observing the person or using my intuition about how they speak, how they walk, how they talk, that, you know, is information. And if your goal, and my goal when I do a read is to answer the question and give a perspective, then I'm going to use any information at my disposal. So you're, once again, in a similar respect of what I talked about, psychic awareness and psychic knowledge, intuitive knowledge is a similar thing. You can pick up so much just from someone's manner of speech, from the way they sit, and just your gut feel. And that's the real thing. Just the presence that the person has. So I use my intuition quite a bit. Another thing about intuition is when you're looking at a card, I had mentioned about, you know, if there's a bird on the card that might change your freedom. Let's say the card has a bird in the sky, but it also has a crab on the ground. Now, the card is in a position where you're really not sure, you know, which of two or three different meanings it is. You know, and maybe the cards around it aren't any help, because a lot of times the cards will tell a story, and the cards surrounding the card will give you some clue. Well, what I do is I just use my intuition. Well, you know, there's 5 different little things on this card that could lead me to what I'm wanting to how I'm wanting to read it. But you know, I'm getting the strongest intuition about the bird and the crab, and I'm not sure which is stronger. Let me focus on that a little more, and then I just go with my gut. So one day I might use the same card, and with no other help from what the other cards are, just based on my gut, say, well, you see this bird, this is about it. Or the next day, well, you see the crab on here, and this is what he's doing, and this is why this card means this. And another thing too, this has been a point of contention with other readers and me. I love to explain what's on the cards to people so that they understand I'm not just making this up off the top of my head. And I think it's empowering, particularly if someone can can see the card. They make conscious contact with that. So you're not just interpreting their future or the answer to their question, you're actually showing them the power of the image. But getting back to intuition, yes, that's what I use a lot of times. Another interesting thing is there are a number of 3-card spreads. Sometimes I'll throw 3 cards down and use my intuition to determine what the spread is. Based on the cards, they can either tell a story and say, well, these are chronological, past, present, and future. Or maybe the center card, for some reason, will tip you off to the fact that, oh, this is a situation where the center card is the querent, and what is on the left and the right are what surrounds the querent, and it's not chronological at all. And there are other things, the way the cards are placed and whatnot, that you can just put 3 cards down, and sometimes there will be a logical sense depending on what cards are placed, and other times it's just intuition. And once again, very similar to this. The thing about the difference, though, between what I call intuition and the psychic thing is the psychic thing is more worked out in your head. The intuition is in your gut. Okay? And maybe they are the same thing, but they don't feel like the same thing to me. So, by all means, I do separate what I explained in the last video as psychic from what I would call intuition. And your sense about a person, you want to grow your intuition if you want to be a good tarot reader, because that will add so much to how you communicate with the person, in addition to how you can read for the person. Okay? And you know what? I said I was going to make 4. I might actually do 5. I think that I might sum this all up in a video about what I think the goal of tarot should be, because if you don't have the goal, if you don't understand what the goal of tarot, or if you don't have a goal in mind, how the direction the read goes, it could go any direction. And I think I had that problem initially until I had to settle on, for me as a reader, what is my goal. So once again, intuition, work on that and I think you should if you want to be a good reader. It's something I try to keep in mind for myself always. Peace.